a shorty playing in the front yard of the crib. Fell down and I bumped my head. Somebody helped me up and asked me if I bumped my head. I said, yeah.
Alright. So, my, what was that, 3 or 4 layers of base coat are down. It's time to give this model a little bit of a tinge. So I'm going with my Griffin Sepia ink that is has been thinned down. And I go a little bit liberal on the ink. Mainly where flesh touches any other parts of the model. So see there, up against the hair. Get a little bit of shadow on the face there, right around the nose. And here to the chest area. A lot of ink will well up there in the boobological area, as Painting Clinic calls it. Just be sure to keep it moving around. You don't want chestnut brown boobies. So I'm going to actually, see how I'm just kind of picking that up and moving it? That's something you need to get used to doing with washes. Okay, see how that's nice, it's settled in right there in that crease behind the leg. It's exactly what we want out of the wash. So it's delivering a nice bit of shadow, and it's also tinging the model. We will fix the tinge and just leave a nice shadow and a little bit of transition there. So there's that done already. And let's go with avatar form. Avatar Pandora. I didn't realize she has these cool hoop earrings. That is quite cool. Wow. You can see I've got a little too much ink on that whole area right there. A little more than I wanted. I will fix that. Let's just make sure we ink the rest of the flesh. Now, when you're washing flesh, be careful that you don't stop suddenly in areas where you don't have a quote-unquote natural breakpoint. For example, the blouse here, that's a good natural breakpoint. The hairline, good natural breakpoint. But everything from there down, you don't really want to stop. Because what's going to happen is the wash is going to stain an area and basically just sit in there. And it's going to look weird. Okay. So I'm going to let that sit. Take a break. Some of the SoCal buddies are on. I'm going to talk to them for a second. I'll see you guys in a few. Alright. So, let's go with the higher highlight. So my tip is doing something funny. That happens occasionally, especially when you're using a bigger brush. Not terrible though. It's livable, survivable. You do want to try to keep this fairly sharp when you're doing these parts. So you don't want to mess up the nice shading you just did. Just like that. I think I hit a another weird angle on the model there. Not a gigantic deal breaker. You can always go back and just hit it with a little bit more wash. There we go. Starting to look correct. At least the skin tone I'm hoping for. She looks a little pale on screen, but I sort of like pale on these models. They look correct when they're a little bit pale. I think the palest models I have actually are the Showgirls, even more pale than Rasputina, oddly enough. But they look right. Kind of wanted them to look like porcelain dolls, even, if you will. It's these big long tracks here at the leg where you really want that smoothness to show, so be extra careful when you're going through and doing that part, because that's the part, honestly, when you're looking at the model, it's going to be one of the biggest draws for the eyes, because the flesh is going to stand out against the all the clothing. And what I'm going to need to decide is how I want to offset that. Because I kind of do. I want you looking at, when you're looking at the model, I want you to be looking at the face and the flesh more than anything else. And it's for that reason that I decided I'm not going to do OSL or special lighting effects. Too many special lighting effects on the box there. Okay, now when I'm painting these in, see that that little crease there in the leg? I want that to be as thin and as feathered out as possible. I mean, I really want to take this in as tight as I possibly can. Just so that the shadow ends up being really, really subtle. The other thing I'm doing, in order to ensure that my super thin paint isn't going to run all over the place, is I'm dabbing it onto a rag as I go. Because that's the risk that you run when you thin paints. So you might lose control of your paints and end up with a big mess. And we don't want to do that. We just want to have nice, thin, even layers. Sorry if my hands are shaking. I'm actually watching the computer screen half the time here, trying to make sure I've got this all right and that you can sort of see what's going on. Keyword there, sorta. Still working on getting this right, you guys. So, what else do we have in store for this channel? Well, I owe you guys more rambling about Ramos, so I plan on picking that up. So that will be thing. Probably also going to be doing some more battle reports, hopefully. Some more sights and sounds, maybe, when we get to WonderCon. That might be fun. And then really the rest of it's going to be based a lot on what you guys want to do for the channel. Let me just knock this out real quick. I'm getting messaged. Alright, back in just a second. Okay, so at this point, when I've got the first coat over the wash, I start thinking about makeup and other effects on skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some violet and add about a brush load's full worth of the skin mixture where I'm currently at. So as you can see, I was going basically mixing, building my mixture as I went up. So mixing a little bit of skin in there. We'll tone my violet down and help it blend with the rest of the model. So let's pretty sound there. Looks like somebody's trying to message me. Man. Oh well. Sorry, whoever that is. I know my wife is resting right now, so I know it's not her. And her texts always get priority. So, yeah. So I'm going to go back to my smaller brush. And let's do a little bit of makeup. I don't know how much of this I can get on camera because I need to be awful close to do this. So, go in with some eyeliner. And on the avatar, this is really minor. Yep, that's about it. Just a really, like a little dash, really, for the eyes. So I'll be able to fit on there. Might not even be something you notice unless you're really staring at the model. Some people will really be staring at the model. And if I go too thick, I can always repair it. So I'm not terribly worried about that. And let's do the lips here. Are you one of those guys whose hands shake when you're working in real tight? 'Cause I am. So you get to see that. Not bad. Okay. Not terrible. On to Pandora. Same thing. You might have a little more room on regular Pandora to actually get this makeup down. Not much more room. A little bit more. It's actually quite nice on regular Pandora. Really adds a bit of character there. Kind of like that. Too bad it's a little too dark for the camera to pick up. So I apologize for that. Kind of thinner lips on regular Pandora too. Now when I do lips, I try not to make them too big. Sometimes a sculpt has really big lips on. Sometimes I'd rather just have slightly thinner than what the sculpt has. This little piece here is in the way. See if I can get this upside down. A little bit more. Alright, so almost done with the flesh. Almost. Here's the alt. Ooh. Not looking too hot. Oh no, she is. She's looking kind of fierce there. And here is the regular Pandora. Looking pretty cool. Alright. So the final thing is just to go with really just straight up light flesh. When I say straight up, I mean thinned. But this is the final highlight on the flesh, and it's going to be very subtle. And you may not even realize it's there. And if you don't, that's fine. But I do. I remember putting it there. Quite nice. So really thin. As per usual. Really thin mixture. Let's get moving. I'm actually going to go in with a smaller brush. So I want this thin mixture. And sometimes I use this highlight to clean up the makeup, but I think I'm okay here. Didn't really create a mess with the makeup. Sometimes I do that. I'm just going for the most extreme parts of the model, like right here, the hand. Gonna be a lot of light on this leg, so the leg will see a fair bit of highlight to it. Even though it's not a hard edge, per se. If I just go with a thin layer like that, should look pretty nice. And you want to feather your edges out when you're doing this, because it'll look weird if it's just like one layer over another layer. So remember to feather your edges out. Take that in. There you go. Actually, ooh. My hands here underneath, I don't want to go quite as light, so I'm just going to go a little bit on the knuckles and a little bit across the tips there. Right, Pandora? Okay. Anything else? Am I missing anything? A little bit. Just give myself a little bit of a highlight right here. In here. There we go. Pretty cool. So far. There we go. Alright. And we'll do our Pandora alt. Avatar, I mean. I wish it was Pandora alt. Would have really enjoyed that. Looks like I'm going to have to buy my own I'm actually going to take this eyeliner in just a little bit. Oh man, that was in camera. Wow. See what happens when I actually try to paint, you guys? Terrible. Terrible. You know what's cool about this method though? The hard part is over. As of right now, the hard part, the most challenging part of the model, done. That means the rest of this can really be spent on really just coating up the model quickly and finishing it. And my buddy will have a painted crew. So congrats. Where's your painted crew, you say? Hey, I told you guys how to win one. I just need more entries into the contest. So don't forget, you have about 10 days. There we go. That leg needs a little extra feathering. I've got it on real liquidy. Liquidy thin. Make that leg look super smooth. Okay, cool. Just gonna let the final skin kind of settle in there while I figure out the rest of the color scheme.